The cyan stench was coming from a bottle of perfume. Wanted, bedmaker and laundryman for Unseen University. $2 for each day survived. Contact Mrs. Foames at the new hall.
Oh, it is you, sir.
I'm just as thrilled.
Who would sir like to see this time?
Can I see the Count?
I am not in a position to know how good your vision is, but you may see the Count, which I believe is what sir actually meant in sir's untutored way.
The Count's health was getting worse. He wasn't making much sense.
Is that you? I knew you'd come for me sooner or later. Is it time? Is it time already? It's been such a long time, hasn't it? We've had fun together, haven't we? Soon enough.
Count?
Soon enough, my dear. Soon enough.
Count, it's Luton.
He cannot hear you.
Why not?
It's almost his time.
I've seen some scary things in my time. I've seen men driven mad by money or women. I've seen wars where neither side has known what they were fighting over. I've seen Nobby getting out of the shower, and believe me, that was no picnic. I didn't really discover what terror was until I found myself talking to a 7-foot-high skeleton with a scythe. Your death!
Am I? You know, I wondered why I was carrying the scythe around.
Am I?
Are you what? A selfish, bitter man who has yet to squander his one last chance at redemption?
Am I dead?
No. It's not your time.
I thought you might have missed me the other day when I was stabbed and you've only just got around to me.
I'm famously punctual.
So why are you here?
I've come out for the Count, so to speak.
Oh, well, that's a shame. I was hoping to ask him a few questions.
You seem remarkably calm for one who's just seen the defeater of empires, the swallower of oceans, the thief of years, the ultimate reality, the harvester of mankind, and the assassin against whom no lock will hold. That's me, in case you have trouble with long sentences.
It's been that kind of week. How long has he got?
That depends on you.
On me? I thought our time was allocated by the fates.
It is true that fate is the ultimate master of life and death. But even fate takes a back seat to the laws of narrative causality.
I don't understand.
Really? Who said you were supposed to?
You might give me a clue.
Let's just say that the actions of one person may change the way the whole story is told.
I don't understand.
Don't worry. It'll all become clear to you at the end.
How come you're here?
I came on my horse.
What is it? A skeletal horse whose hooves spark with flames with each step?
No. Just my horse. I call him Binky.
And he's not a skeleton?
He happens to be very well fed and looked after, thank you very much.
I still don't understand why you're here. I mean, Your death. Shouldn't you be everywhere?
I am everywhere.
But you're here.
Yes. As well. Don't try to work it out. Even I don't fully understand it. It involves really complicated numbers.
You turn up like this for everyone?
Generally, I'm only expected to make an actual appearance on special occasions.
And this is a special occasion?
Not yet. I've arrived ahead of time. But there's going to be a lot of business in Ankh-Morpork soon. So it doesn't hurt for me to get here a little early.
You wouldn't care to tell me more about this, I suppose?
The immediate future is not a matter on which I propose to enlighten you. No.
How come I can see you? Is it something to do with me being a werewolf?
In a sense. It has much more to do with certain other matters.
Such as?
Ordinarily, I am only perceived by those who are about to die.
So you are invisible? That must be useful.
I'm not invisible, as such. People just can't see me. They won't allow themselves to do it. Until it's time, of course. Wizards can see me, and cats. Odd, really, but there you go.
But I can see you.
Indeed. People in a state of heightened awareness sometimes stop seeing what they expect to see and start seeing what is really there.
Like with Gaspode.
Frankly, I think your seeing me has more to do with your quest for the golden sword.
You know about that?
I've been around. I hear things.
Why should the sword be a factor?
Well, it's more to do with narrative causality, as I said.
It's not really a quest. I mean, I'm just investigating a few murders.
Believe me, I know. I was there.
You mentioned narrative causality before.
Did I? I must be becoming careless.
Why? Aren't you allowed to discuss it?
It's not exactly against the rules. But it might ruin it if I told you.
Ruin what?
The story.
Do you know anything about golden swords?
I've seen a couple in my time.
Such as?
Oh, I don't know. If you've seen one golden sword, you've seen them all.
Do you know anything about Cypher's murder?
Of course.
You were there?
Well, yes. I have to be. But this is very irregular.
Of course. You know about all these murders, don't you? I mean, you're basically an accessory after the fact. Or possibly before the fact.
Young man, I am the fact.
Well, tell me everything you know.
Are you sure? It would take millions of years.
I meant about this case. We could stop anyone else from being killed.
No. Absolutely not. You can't expect me to be a witness in a murder inquiry. I'm going to take the fifth.
The fifth what?
No one ever says what fifth. They just take it. And I'll have the 6th, 7th, and 15th through 23rd, just to be on the safe side.
So you won't tell me anything?
Oh, lots of things. I like to talk to a man who likes to talk.
But you won't tell me anything about the murders.
I will not. Supposing that caught on. You think I want to spend every day in a witness box?
Even though Death said he wouldn't tell me anything, I had a suspicion that I might be able to learn something if I could just trip him up. I'd have to be careful, though. The last thing I wanted was to get Death upset with me. He's not a guy you want as your enemy. I was just thinking that I could really use some information on the merchant's murder.
That's funny. I was just thinking about wallpaper. Was there a point you wanted to make?
Perhaps I could trap him into saying something when I knew a little more about how and where the merchant had been killed.
You know, that's very good, the way you make your voice go all tough and gritty like that. Do you have to go to elocution classes?
No.
Do you have a secret code ring or anything?
No.
Oh.
Neither the Count nor Death seemed likely. I don't suppose you know anything about mosses.
Moss? Did you say moss? Plants. Yes. Lots of plants here. Can't remember much about them these days. The memory fails. There are books, though. I forget where. Yes, the library's apocrypha. All the books are there, you know.
May I use the library?
Eh? What was that, my boy? The library. Ah, yes, the library's apocrypha. All the books are there, you know. You can use it if it will help your inquiries. How go your inquiries? Have you heard from Reagan?
No, not yet.
This room contains the von Uberwald's Libraris Apocrypha. So will, I trust, be careful not to damage any of the priceless tomes housed within.
I'll be careful.
One would be very upset if one was to return to find, sir, perhaps folding paper animals from a priceless folio edition of the Dictionary of Eye-Watering Words.
What are they?
They are books, sir.
I realize that. What are they about?
The Libraris Apocrypha is a collection of obscurities and rare volumes from across the continent. If knowledge were an animal, the Libraris would be a great dragon. Sir, by the same scale, would be a kebab on an ant's barbecue.
I'll be careful. The books were all neatly indexed by a vast series of cards in a wooden case. It looked like the von Uberwalds were using an ancient version of Huey's octal system of indexing. It was complicated, but I reckoned I could at least use it to find out what books they had on a particular subject, and then wander around until I saw a bookshelf with the right number on it. I found a copy of Orange Crates on the Nature of Plants. The book was a tediously detailed study of the plant kingdom, and one of the most boring things I've ever read. But I found the moss in there. Apparently it was a lycanthrope, a type of animate moss with crude locomotion, found only in the worst sewers in the most decrepit urban areas. Apparently, the lycanthrope looked like harmless moss until something to eat walked by. Then they transformed into a deadly lichen and devoured their prey, at least as long as it was small enough. Otherwise, they just clung on for dear life. I checked through the library and found some ancient plans of the city of Ankh. There was an intricate sewer system beneath the city. It must be thousands of years old. It would be in quite a state if it was still around, and as far as I could tell, it would be under the waterline if there wasn't a drought on. Given the rains that we'd had recently, I could only find one section of sewer that might be above water. There was a shallow sewer running from the Magdalen Bridge around the rimward side of the Royal Winter Palace of the Kings of Ankh, now the home of the patrician. I guess the designers weren't allowed to put sewers under the palace grounds, which might have been why the Royal Summer Palace of the Kings of Ankh was a long way from Ankh-Morpork. That and the stench of the River Ankh, anyway.
Who would Sarah like to see this time?
I'd like to see Carlotta. Is she home?
I will go and check.
While the butler was gone, I slipped into my wolf form. A purple scent stretched across the hallway, and I instantly knew it was Carlotta. But that wasn't all. The richness of her odor told me something else. Carlotta was a werewolf, just like me.
It seems that Carlotta is not in her room.
Take a message. Tell her to meet me at the Café Ankh later tonight.
As Sir wishes.
If Carlotta was the werewolf who infected me, I wanted to speak to her as soon as possible. Sheesh! You'd think a guy could take one kiss and wake up the same shape next day, wouldn't you? The ancient civic plans from the library led me straight to the sewer's entrance, not far from the Magdalen Bridge. A relatively small tunnel was concealed beneath a pile of debris that must have accumulated over the centuries. It looked as if most of the tunnels here were actually still above the water line, or the sludge line, to be more honest about it. The smell of the Ankh was unbearably strong in the sewer, and it... The trail that I had seen in the cemetery seemed to continue down in the sewers, starting at one of the pipes and disappearing into the passageways. It was almost drowned out by the smell of the Ankh, though. The trail that I had seen in the cemetery seemed to continue down in the... It was all... The magenta scent permeated the niche, stronger even than the smell of the Ankh. There weren't many times in life you got to say that. Amongst the garbage was some kind of pendant. As I stood in the alcove examining the pendant, I felt as if I wasn't alone. It was the same presence I'd felt in the milker's hold. I could feel the cold touch of death upon me. It was a strangely light touch. Size obviously isn't important, I agree. You are death, right? Rats have their own death? No offense, I mean, you're very, very intimidating. For a skeletal rat, at least. So what's your connection to the big guy? You're sort of like relatives, then. You probably get together for birthdays and hogwatch night. I'd like to see that. If you don't mind me asking, were you on the Milka before? I thought so. What were you doing on the Milka? Uh-huh. No, please, go on. Did you see anything? Well, I don't know, anything unusual. Anything else? Yeah, I saw that. And that's here. This is its lair. It can't be very big. That's not very comforting. But I guess that's not your job. Comfort, I mean. I wasn't suggesting you weren't good at your job. I've never looked at it that way before. I couldn't believe it. I was talking to a phantasmal rodent. I hoped he couldn't read my thoughts. He seems easily offended. So, what's it like being the death of rats? You don't get to talk much, do you? So, do you come here often? I'm sorry, it's not easy to think of things to say to something like you. Well, it's not often I find myself in the sewers talking to a... What are you exactly? Exactly. Well, it was nice meeting you. I have to get going. It's not like that. I have a lot of work to do. You too, huh?
You wanted to see me.
I tried to reach you at the mansion, but you're never around when I need you.
You never need me when I'm around.
A funny thing happened to me the other day.
You arranged all this just to tell me an anecdote?
It's a funny little story. I think you'll like it.
I'm listening.
The other night, someone stuck a sword through my ribs.
Ah, it must have been someone who knew you well.
The thing is, not long afterwards, I was in my coffin thinking about it when I realized I wasn't dead.
That was lucky.
Luck was not a factor. Why did you do it, Carlotta?
Do what?
Make me a werewolf.
If I hadn't, you'd be dead. Would you prefer that?
That's not the point, and you know it. You did something to me that was going to change who I was for the rest of my life, and you didn't even tell me.
I didn't think you'd understand. Besides, it wasn't as if I planned it.
Are you telling me you turned me into a werewolf by accident?
How long have you been a werewolf now?
Not long.
Have you felt what it's like? That force that pulls on you, that draws your attention to every jugular, pulsing with life? The irrepressible call of fresh blood? A sudden attention to the phases of the moon?
I have to fight to keep control.
We all do. Coming to a city of 1 million people, it's like a starving monkey wandering into a banana plantation. You learn to live with it.
And you decided to infect me with lycanthropy?
Infect is such a negative word. I prefer blessed.
You think this is a gift?
Of course it's a gift. It's the greatest gift I could give to someone. And I chose you.
Why?
You're a smart man, Luton. Figure it out.
Where can I find you?
I'll be around.
That's not very helpful.
What can I say? I go where I want to, with anybody I want. I just happen to be that kind of girl.
This isn't over, Carlotta.
I hope not. We don't have to be enemies, Luton.
We'll never be friends.
Let's not fight, Luton. We can work together, recover the sword together.
I don't know who you are anymore.
I'm the same girl I ever was, Luton. It's you that's changed.
You're telling me.
You know, Luton, you don't have to work with me. You don't have to say anything, and you don't have to do anything. Not a thing. Oh, maybe just howl. You know how to howl, don't you, Luton? You just pull your jaws apart and blow.
After Carlotta had left, I sat alone in the cafe, thinking about my problems. As bad as it seemed, my life was still better than it was a few years ago. Back then, I would have sat alone in the cafe, drinking through my problems. It always looked much easier in the clickies. Can I ask you a few questions?
Well, we are a little busy at the moment. Can it wait?
How long?
Just a day or so.
No, then it can't wait.
Very well. What did you want to know?
Do either of you recognize this? Is of much familiarness. From where?
Near sort being somewhere near. Yesness. Seal on temple in Alkali.
It's the seal on the doors of a temple?
May I see?
Sure. Why not?
Ah, yes. I recognize that. That's from the temple with the intricate door-locking mechanism, isn't it? Quite a marvel of technology for the era it was built, those doors. I was very impressed with them. Now, what was the name of the god it was dedicated to? I can't quite remember.
I know.
I am sure you do, but give me a moment and it'll come to me.
I think he meant it's from the Temple of Anu Anu.
Ah, yes. I remember. The Temple of Anu Anu at Al-Khali. A lovely building.
And this is a replica of the seal.
Of much sureness. Replica of most exactitude.
That might be helpful to know. Thanks. I still haven't worked out what this is for.
That's nice.
To be a coin from Sota. That much is clearing. Had one at dig in Sota, just like that.
Are you sure it's a coin?
Sureness hard to be.
You got that right. I decided to leave them to their work. I doubted they even noticed I was gone.